So when you have a vehicle as iconic as the Jeep Wrangler, giving it a full redesign is a tricky proposition, which is why the all-new version known as the JL Wrangler is a very important model for Jeep. And today I've traveled out to Peters Mill Run, an off-road trail park just outside of Front Royal, Virginia, and we're going to find out if this all-new Wrangler is worthy of this iconic name. So you guys probably can't tell on camera, but it's really cold. The thermostat is reading like 13 degrees. So I brought the Jeep out to this off-road trail park because I wanted to test out its capabilities, but I also wanted to show you guys some nice scenery for this review. Now you can see the design of the Wrangler is not going to look entirely new if you guys aren't the Jeep Wrangler or Jeep faithful. You still have the company's signature 7-slot grille. However, they took a lot of design cues from the previous TJ generation, not the JK. The headlights, they're still the oval shape, but they kind of protrude into one of the 7 slots. You can now get full LED headlights on a Wrangler. My tester being the Sport S, which is more the lower trim, only has the halogens. But of course, it still has a lot of the traditional styling cues here. The fenders here, they're a little bit lower on the Sport S. The Rubicons are a little bit higher. You can also get this body colored if you want. You still have the traditional hood latches here on the side of the Wrangler, although Jeep has made it a little bit easier to use. And the My Tester out front just looks very traditional. It's really hard to tell it's new. Really, the dead giveaway is right here on the fenders, where this new generation has moved the, that turn signal to over here, and then you have an LED accent, which is standard. However, if you guys want LED daytime running lights or running lights in general, you have to go for that upgraded lighting package that's only available on the Rubicon and the Sahara. Now you can see My Tester is the 2-door version. There's also a 4-door unlimited model, which is about 22 inches bigger. This model has about a 96.8 inch wheelbase. It's about 2 inches longer than the old generation, and overall length is about 166.8. It's about another 2 to 3 inches longer than the previous JK. Now My Tester has the standard 17-inch wheels. You can get an optional gray finish 17-inch wheels, and then My Tester also has the all-terrain tires, which are really useful out here, considering we're out here on this off-road trail. The other ones will kind of just have a road-going tire, which if you guys don't plan to take this off-road, I probably would recommend. Now, My Tester also has the hardtop. This is an optional $1,000 upgrade. You can also get the hardtop in addition to the soft top. Jeep says that a new power retractable soft top is coming, which will basically combine the hardtop with this soft canvas that kind of goes over. This top is really easy to remove the 2 freedom panels on the top or in the front seats. However, if you want to remove this portion here, I tried it. It's really heavy, so it's kind of a 2-person job. Only has 8 screws that come off. Now, looking around here in the rear, this is another area where you can tell the Wrangler is all new. The taillight design is all new. My Tester has an optional LED upgraded taillight that's part of like a safety convenience package. And there's a couple of elements I want you to see here. First of all, there's this little panel here that comes out from the rear taillight. That's actually the sensor for the blind spot monitoring. Jeep said this was the only solution to kind of put this here because it has to extend out past the fenders. Although I am a little concerned that you might swipe this while you're going off-roading, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, another thing that's also new on the Wrangler, a backup camera. Previously, a backup camera wasn't even available. Jeep put it right here in the spare tire area. You can actually take this off, and then the spare tire kind of goes over it. This housing is metal, so it's very durable in case you guys are putting a bigger tire on here if you're concerned about taking it off. The third brake light also has been better integrated, and it also is adjustable. So if you guys want to put a bigger tire here, Jeep basically lets you do that from the factory. And that's the one thing that Wrangler buyers really appreciate. This is a car that's super customizable. A lot of owners make a lot of changes to it, and Jeep wanted to make sure that you could basically do that from the factory without voiding your warranty and making it really easy. So when you first approach the Wrangler, you can see the vehicle comes with an all-new key fob design. This is totally unique to the Wrangler. It's a massive key. It also has a switchblade design, which is nice. It's also the push-button start variety. Even though My Tester doesn't have the option for the actual intelligent key, you have to pay another $500. This key definitely takes up a lot of room in your pocket. Some of you may like it, some of you may not. But it does include a remote start because My Tester has a convenience package. To activate the remote start, just push this button twice. the vehicle will beep to acknowledge it, and it'll beep again, and then it will start right up. I have it set up to turn on the heated seat and the heated steering wheel you get with that convenience package. To turn off the remote start, just push this button again. It'll shut off the engine for you. But nevertheless, because it doesn't have the intelligent access key, to lock the door, there's no button on the outside. You have to actually use the key fob to unlock it. Get that option and you'll have a little button here on the door handle. Now, when you first open up the door and look at the inside of the all-new Wrangler, you can see, you know, it's pretty familiar in here if you guys have spent a lot of time with the newest crop of Jeep products. Now, compared to the previous JK Wrangler, this interior is completely different. Now, my tester is the Sport S, which means it only comes with cloth seats. These are the black cloth fabric seats, which are actually surprisingly supportive, surprisingly comfortable. You do have like a 6-way power adjustment for the seat, no lumbar support. I don't particularly like how Jeep uses a strap here to make the seat back angle recline. I just would have preferred an actual traditional lever. This was a little bit annoying to find at a glance, especially if you guys aren't used to it. The doors, they are now aluminum. In like typical Wrangler fashion, the doors also come off. This is a little handle here to take off the doors, along with this little strap that holds it, that keeps it from going out too far. The doors themselves, when you actually look on the rivets, Jeep imprints what type of tool you need to actually open these, and I like the exposed bolts. It's a very utilitarian vehicle. Jeep wanted to make sure that stayed even with this all new generation. Now, the Wrangler sits up pretty high. It has a nice higher step in height. My tester has a side step here that helps you get in and out. I also like the grab handle right here on the A-pillar to help you do that because it is a pretty high step in height for those of you who don't particularly have good knees anymore to get up into this vehicle. But once you get into the vehicle, the Wrangler starts giving you that special feeling that a lot of people really like. You sit up a lot higher, there's a nice commanding view of the road, and then when you shut the door, you know, for the doors that come off completely, they actually sound relatively solid. So I'm really pleased with the overall interior of the new Wrangler at a first glance. Now, as I said, push button start is standard on all models. So basically just keep the key fob in the vehicle, put your foot on the brake, and then push this button here to fire up the engine. And the gauges do a nice sweep. There's a cool little Easter egg where that Jeep, that old Jeep, military Jeep, kind of drives along the bottom of this helper LCD screen. You can see here the gauge cluster is just completely all new. The old Wrangler, you couldn't even think about finding a gauge display that's that, you know, elaborate with its LCD display. It's a nice helper screen. And then you can see here my tester has the upgraded 7-inch Uconnect head unit with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is accessed right there. Because this is the smaller screen, you have a slightly bigger rubberized bezel covering the screen. If you guys go for the 8.4, it'll kind of get rid of this portion here and make the screen even bigger. And the Android Auto will lose this kind of orange outline border that gives you all of your controls still here at the bottom. It's really nice. The screen is wonderful. Now, when it comes to the interior, Wranglers have never really been about a luxury ambiance, and this new one isn't really that much different. Although if you guys go for the Sahara trim and you guys get a special option package, it'll actually leather stitch the dash, so that's a different review. This Sport S model is surprisingly decent. I mean, the dashboard is all hard touch plastic. I kind of expected that, but it's got a really nice graining material here, although I'm not sure I really like the flash molding that you can see there on the actual dash. This right here is a silver painted plastic. You have, you know, a nice rubberized grab handle here with some exposed bolts. I really like the, you know, Wrangler, you know, written out on the actual grab handle here. And then Jeep is really proud of the fact that all the switchgear in here is very unique to the Wrangler, and all of it is basically waterproof. You could essentially hose down this interior minus the carpet's getting wet. But you can see here lots of, you know, Jeep Wrangler specific materials. The door panel, it's hard touch plastic here, but it's that same nice graining material. It is soft padded right here, not a leather stitch, but just vinyl where you're gonna rest your elbows. It's a nice little place here to put your phone, or you can, you know, grab this when you guys are shutting the door. The door handle here is plastic, but it's aluminum accented. You have your mirror controls there, power door lock switches there, and then there's some good storage, and then there's a netted storage area in the actual door. So Jeep is kind of upping the amount of storage in here. The window controls are actually over here. The windows are one touch down for both the driver and the passenger, but not one touch up. I kind of wish Jeep just made it that way. They also changed the way the window switches work. The previous model, you kind of had to just push up and down. This one, you kind of have to pull this way to make the window go up, push this way to make it go down. It's a little counterintuitive. It's going to take some getting used to, but it's not bad. Looking at the rest of the center stack here, I've showed you guys Uconnect before. I'll give you a little brief representation. I mean, this is kind of where I would have it constantly with its, you know, with audio information up there. If you go to apps, it'll bring all your different app sources. You can also kind of rearrange the apps in here, kind of like the way a smartphone works, which is really nice. I really love how Chrysler FCA kind of took that from smartphones. You can see all your different sources in here. The Uconnect 7.0 doesn't actually have built-in integrated navigation. You have to use the Apple CarPlay, which is fine. Most people, I imagine, are going to use that. The touch response is really good. This is one of the best systems in the business in terms of its user interface, and Jeep and FCA have done a really good job with Uconnect. I just recommend going for the bigger 8.4-inch screen you can get on the actual other trims. When you put the vehicle into reverse here, you can see the backup camera has amazing resolution. It has trajectory, it has parking sensors in the back, and it just looks fantastic. This looks better than the Alfa Romeo Stelvio I had last week, and this is a Jeep. So bravo for Chrysler, for FCA, for putting a fantastic backup camera on this car. I think a lot of owners are going to be really impressed. They're also going to be really like the big knobs here for your volume, for your tuning, for your climate control. It has dual zone automatic. You have a power outlet here, and then you have another USB. You have a USB-C connection here. That's the first new car I've seen with the new USB-C connection and an auxiliary port there. This is going to your Android Auto. This shelf right here where I can put my phone is basically out there because my tester isn't the Rubicon where you'll have like the disconnecting sway bars or the additional four-wheel drive lock transfer cases and whatnot, which will be right here. So if you guys have the Rubicon, you'll also get that. It has an old school style lever. It's a very, very masculine lever to put into four-wheel drive. When you want to put into four-wheel drive, you kind of have to shove it all the way down until it goes into four-wheel drive, and then the indicator here will show you switching to four high. The Sahara models will offer a new full-time system where it has kind of an automatic setting. It's the first time it's been offered in a Wrangler. Again, if you want to go to neutral, you have to actually shift the transmission into neutral. Now, speaking of which, this has the optional 8-speed automatic. It really has a traditional PRND gate with a manual mode. There's no paddle shifters, of course. This is a Wrangler. I love the big, meaty, manly shift knob. It feels good in your hands. I like the little Easter egg military Jeep that they put on the top there. It also has some nice little metal accents on the shift knob with some nice leather on the boot. It's a really nicely accented or finished cabin. You have plenty of storage here for your cup holders. There's a place here where you can put your cell phone or your wallet, which is nice. Traditional pull style handbrake, which some of you are really going to prefer. The armrest here is nice and padded, not leather stitched, but it does give you 2-tier storage. This is where you're going to find the tools, basically all the tools you need to take off the windshield, take off the doors, take off the roof. On this hardtop model, it even gives you a nice little owner's manual here or instruction manual in case you guys forget. And then this little thing here fits nicely right there so you never lose track of it. Over here, the center console is a pretty good size, actually. I have a good amount of crap in there, and then you have another USB port. Really nice amount of storage. The glove compartment also is pretty small, so it's good that Jeep gives you that big center console. But you can see here, it's damped but not lined with felt, but it's a pretty decent size, just a little bit on the smaller end. The seats, I find them to actually be surprisingly comfortable. I took this car on a 3-hour road trip to take it off-road, and I was finding the seats incredibly comfortable. Now above me, my tester has the optional hardtop, and I also really love the LED lighting that you find in the cabin here. That's very unexpected in a Wrangler. This top is really easy to take off for the freedom panels. There's 2 freedom panels here, one over the driver's side, one over the passenger side. Mine also has the optional premium headliner, which does quiet it down a little bit. It also adds some insulation. This back portion here is very heavy to take off, and there's about 8 screws, 2 on the top here, 3 on each sides, to remove the actual hardtop in one piece. That requires a 2-man job versus this. You just kind of, unlatch that, and then you kind of unlatch this over here, and then you take this off, and then the panel itself just kind of lifts off, which I'll show you guys later on in the test drive how it sounds with the panel off and on. But overall, the interior of the Wrangler is definitely a nice place to spend time. It's unexpected, the level of technology in here, the level of quality. Jeep has really stepped up the game in the Wrangler, and it really shows. Now, my 2-door model definitely makes it a little bit more difficult to access the back seat. If you guys plan to use the back seat, I highly recommend the 4-door. But to get back here, there is a nice little lever on the top part of the seat. Just pull this seat, pull the lever, the seat will flip forward, and then it will slide forward as well. It only does this completely on the passenger side, so I recommend having passengers get on this side. But to get back here, you can see the opening is quite decent. The step here, the running board, really helps, but getting back here, the space is actually not bad for somebody who is shorter like myself. Now, I recommend putting up these headrests here because they will kind of go into your back. But you can see here the seat is kind of all the way back on the passenger side and my knees are hitting the seat, but there's a good amount of foot space here. If you just move the seat forward a little bit, it'll give you additional space. But Jeep gives you some nice cup holders. I wasn't expecting to find rear seat vents, so that was a nice unexpected surprise. And the seats themselves do fold down in one piece and then it kind of flips forward. But you can see here there's some soft carpeting material, but no soft touch materials, as this is designed to actually disappear. And then there's a nice little rollover bar here, which does stay in place with 2 speakers. My Pentastar has the optional 9-speaker Alpine sound system, which does sound pretty good. But overall, the rear seat for the 2-door is not bad for 2 people, but just keep in mind if you actually are regularly going to carry passengers, you might want to get the 4-door. Now, the Wrangler has never had a traditional opening cargo area, and the new one is basically the case. It has a 2-piece that actually flips up. Now, my Pentastar has the hardtop, so I need to actually take a look at a soft top to see what the differences are. But you can see here the 2-door has very limited amount of cargo space. You're looking at around 12 cubic feet of space from what I found. The Unlimited, which is nearly 2 feet longer, gives you around 31 cubic feet of space, which both numbers are a little bit larger than the old JK Wrangler. Now, this seat, it does fold down in one piece. I'm not really a fan of the way it folds. When you first fold this down, you can see here, I was expecting this to kind of stay like that, but instead it automatically releases and flips up. And I really wish there was a way to make the seat kind of stay. When I had the seat flipped up like this, what I found is every time I was driving around, the seat would kind of start bucking here and there. So there needs to be a way to secure it. I guess maybe Jeep thought that if you'd have stuff there, it would keep the seat in place. Now, when you have that seat flipped forward, they're saying there's around 55 cubic feet of space, which is a lot, but it just doesn't look like 55 cubic feet of space for me. I'm thinking like more 40. The Unlimited model gives you a total amount about 72 cubic feet of space, which is a good amount. I'll have to test that one to show you guys the differences. But this one itself has the optional the Alpine sound system here, so it's a waterproof subwoofer down here. And then this right here is really cool to keep track of all of the screws and bolts that you're going to take out whenever you take apart your Wrangler. You can see there's the ones for the roof, for the windshield, for the door. It's really nice organization, and I'm glad to see Jeep was thinking or being clever there with giving owners a place to where you can put your screws so you don't lose track of them, because that's something I know a lot of people will lose. I also like the fact that there's a nice LED light back here. There's a power outlet. And then the hardtop itself gives you a nice enclosure. It makes the interior a little bit more secure, a little bit more weatherproof, especially if you guys live in cold climates. As you guys can see here, the rear cargo area, the spare tire sits on the back, and it is a full-size matching spare. That's very rare in this segment, but when you have an off-road vehicle, it's very important. And then this right here also adjusts in case you guys want to put a bigger spare tire on this. The rear camera is located right here. And you can basically just take this off, and it's a nice metal housing, so you don't have to worry about damaging the camera whenever you guys are taking off the spare. So just like all Wranglers in the past, the hood is controlled by these 2 latches, which means anybody can come up and open up the hood of your Wrangler, but why would they want to do that, Anyways, to open up the hood, there's another little separate latch here that you kind of just push open. And then it has still a prop rod, which doesn't really surprise me. Whew, it's nice and warm under here. It's really damn cold. Underneath the hood, Wranglers come available with 2 engines at launch. This is the standard engine. It's a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. We all know this engine. It's kind of the updated version. It still has only port injection, but it makes 285 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with 2 new transmissions, an all-new 6-speed manual, which is the standard transmission, and there's also an all-new 8-speed ZF-sourced automatic that replaces the previous 5-speed automatic. Now, this Wrangler is rated to tow up to about 2,000 pounds. If you guys go for the 2-liter turbo, which is about a month delayed, that makes actually less horsepower, 270, but 295 pound-feet of torque. That's actually the same engine that you'll find in an Alfa Romeo Giulia and the Stelvio as their base engine. Now, later toward the end of the year, there will be a diesel V6, which has like 260 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. Those are all different reviews. I'll make sure to show you guys all the different engines. This is probably the one that may be the volume until the 2-liter comes out. With this 8-speed automatic, with the 4-wheel drive system, it's rated at 18 in the city, 23 on the highway. Let's get out on the road and see how it all performs. Okay, so probably the most iconic vehicle here in America. Let's take a look and see how this all-new Jeep Wrangler drives. Again, so push-button start is nothing new, but to find it in a Wrangler and to find a heated steering wheel, that's definitely really cool. I mean, the Wrangler in general, I never really had too much experience with it. I've always loved the way they look. I love the off-road capability, but there's just too many compromises with the old one. It was just a really crude and archaic vehicle to live with on a daily basis. So this new one, I have really high hopes for because I love all the new technology in it. I love the refinement. And first setting off in the Wrangler, you know, you get a sense that you're still driving a Wrangler. You have a very familiar, you know, view of the road where you are basically very commanding. The side mirrors, even though they're new, they're that nice square shape. You have lots of visibility in here, surprisingly. I really like the size of this two-door model. To me, it's like the perfect size of a Wrangler. I really need to drive the four-door to feel just how much larger it is. It is a much larger vehicle. Now, the Wrangler itself hasn't really ever been a refined vehicle, and this new one takes it to new heights for the Wrangler. The ride quality is still truck jittery, but it also has a very nice amount of refinement that's been added. It feels basically as good as the last modern, you know, compact mid-sized truck I've driven, like a Toyota Tacoma or a Chevy Colorado or a GMC Canyon. It's just a really refined driving Wrangler, and the steering in this car is now electric power assist, which is definitely different. The steering itself isn't exactly lightning quick. It's still kind of a little bit truck slow, but you know, you kind of get in this car and it feels very familiar. It feels slightly traditional in the sense that this is kind of just, you know, just modernized, which is what the Wrangler basically needed. Now, my tester has the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 with 280 horsepower on tap. It's basically unchanged from the previous generation Wrangler. And honestly, it was a great motor for this car, especially when Jeep got rid of the old 3.8 liter, which was in the Chrysler minivans in the JK generation. Now, what is all new is the 8-speed automatic. This is basically the same 8-speed that you find in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's the ZF 8-speed. It's not that awful 9-speed that you find in the Cherokee or in the smaller Jeep products. And I have to say, driving the Wrangler with this combination, it's a surprisingly good combination. The engine has plenty of power, surprisingly, and it also has a nice noise. When you really get it going, the engine has a nice satisfying growl that I really wasn't expecting the Wrangler to have. I haven't had a chance to drive the new 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, which actually has 10 less horsepower, but like 30 more foot-pounds of torque. This does feel a little bit light on torque. Surprisingly, for a Wrangler, you kind of have to rev the engine out, but it has a nice satisfying noise when it is revved out. So I imagine, you know, the Jeep guys, you know, you're probably going to be more comfortable or more at home in this V6, but I will be interested to drive the 2-liter turbo, which, you know, offers a little bit less revs, less horsepower, but it's going to have more torque, which means you won't have to push the engine quite as much. Now, the Wranglers now have start-stop, which really surprised me. I wasn't expecting this technology to show up in a Wrangler, but it's surprisingly fast. As soon as you let off the brake, the engine starts right back up. Now, this is the part-time four-wheel drive system, so which means when I have it in 2 high, it's in rear drive mode. And this car gets surprisingly tail happy, especially when the road is a little bit slick, but it's a really nice, you know, driving vehicle on the road, which is not what you could say about Wranglers in the past. Now, when you do get up to high speeds, you feel the speed in this car. You'll hear the wind noise. You'll feel the body is, you know, a little bit rocky. But again, it's nothing that I didn't expect to find in today's modern trucks. The steering is, you can see, very slow. When I do this, the car doesn't actually change directions. The steering is a tad too light for my taste. I wish Jeep kind of made it a little bit heavier. I need to drive the other trims, you know, to get a feel for that. But again, you don't drive a Wrangler to go fast on a twisty, winding road like I am, but Wranglers will spend a lot of their time on these type of road conditions. So, you know, it's imperative that I show you guys how this car drives on the actual road, which isn't, you know, not to say it's bad. It's surprisingly good. It has very good power. The brakes also, they work very well. There's good pedal feedback. And the transmission is really responsive. It's a really good 8-speed that's well matched to the engine's power band. You can get a 6-speed manual in this combination if you'd like. I would need to drive the 6-speed to see how it works. I hear that it has a little bit slightly vague clutch engagement, which makes people stall it a lot, but I'll reserve judgment until I actually drive it. But I'm surprisingly impressed with how this 3.6 and 8-speed combo drives the Wrangler and how it moves it about. It's got a nice ride quality, as I said. Visibility in here is good. Now, in terms of driver assistance, the Wrangler, my tester, has blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. That's the only kind of blind spot or drive resistance tech you can get on this car. And the reason being why it doesn't have forward collision warning or adaptive cruise control is because the windshield folds down. Because Jeep wanted to preserve that, you cannot put those sensors on the windshield if it has to fold down, which is why the Wrangler doesn't offer it. Again, it's a very satisfying engine note, so you guys are really going to be quite pleased. Now, the Wrangler does force you to make a little bit of compromises. I mean, I can't take this corner here incredibly quick, which is fine. This is a Jeep Wrangler. I wasn't expecting something like that. But it does get out of the hole really quickly, and there's not very much test data, but I would estimate it would get to 60 in around 8 seconds in this combination. The turbo 4-cylinder probably will be a slightly quicker affair. I will want to drive the diesel V6 at the end of the year when that comes out to see how that compares with the gas powertrains. Now, because it's a Wrangler, I have to take off the freedom panels and show you guys what it's like to drive, because one of the benefits of a Wrangler is being able to actually drive completely topless. Now, it's about 46 degrees outside, which is way better than the 15 degrees that we've been experiencing here in the DC area the last few months. But I'm only going to take off the freedom panels, and this is going to be the first time that I'm actually driving this vehicle on the road with the freedom panels removed. So bear with me while I take off the freedom panels. And you can see they're really easy to remove. Just a little bit cumbersome because they're big, but they're very light at least. Okay, so that took roughly maybe like 30 seconds. And wow, the experience just totally changes when you take off the freedom panels. I love convertibles, and you know what? America loves SUVs, so it's pretty easy why the Jeep Wrangler sells very well here, why there's consistently Jeep sells about 150,000 to 200,000 annually. And this is really cool. This is really nice. I would love to be able to take everything off, but the hardtop does make it a little bit more difficult. You can roll down the windows, of course, or take off the doors. You could basically go completely topless, but with the heated steering wheel, the heated seats, we're gonna drive like a crazy person with the roof panels removed and see how the noise is in here. And oh my gosh, I have to say, driving with the roof panels off, this is the whole reason why people love Wranglers so much. Now, the wind buffeting in here is surprisingly loud, but again, I only took off the freedom panels. I imagine if you take off the entire, rear roof and stuff, it can't be that much quieter than this. Other convertibles, like my Miata, for example, are a little bit less buffeting, but there's just something so satisfying, so gratifying, so freedom feeling by taking off the roof, driving, sitting up this high. And you know what? If it was nicer weather, I'm just so sad that it's winter here in the DC area, because I would probably drive this thing around with the roof panels removed all the time. This is just fantastic. Now, when the roof panels are completely on, I will say that the hardtop is surprisingly quiet, as you guys heard earlier. Although when you start getting it above 60 miles an hour, there is a good amount of wind noise. This is a brick, basically, so it's not aerodynamic. I wasn't expecting it to be super quiet, but other than just some wind noise, there isn't too much road noise, despite the fact that my sister has all-terrain tires. And again, this is just a really easy car to live with. The ride is agreeable. It gets decent gas mileage. Now, this one is rated at 18 city, 23 on the highway. I've been averaging around 17 miles per gallon in very frigid temperatures, where I was consistently using the remote start and letting this thing run and blasting the heat and the AC to keep it from fogging up. On the highway, I got it up to about 21 miles per gallon. Again, not the most ideal conditions. I would really want to test this car again when it's not super frigidly cold outside, although it is a very nice day, but they're picking up the Wrangler tomorrow. But overall, this car is unique in the segment for sure. It offers a very unique feeling, a very unique driving experience, the capabilities that, basically you could go anywhere. There are plenty of times where I kind of just drove this thing up a curb because I was trying to get around a car. But the Wrangler just kind of shrugs it off like the curb's not even there. And really, it's the Jeep community. I can't even begin to think of an SUV that I've driven, lately, where I had so many people acknowledge me. Every Wrangler that drove by me would basically wave at me. And the guys who had the, or the girls who had the old JK or old body style Wranglers would freak out when they saw this one because, the new JL just went on sale. And really, it's just the community, the heritage. You feel like you're a member, you're part of a family, a Jeep family, when you have a Wrangler. And it's really easy to see why that is when you drive one. This new JL Wrangler drives incredibly well for such a traditional SUV. So after spending a full week with the all-new Jeep Wrangler, I have to say I am very, very impressed. I've actually always loved the way the Jeep Wrangler has looked. A lot of people honestly have loved it, but it always required that you make a compromise because this is not an easy vehicle to live with, at least the last, 3 generations. This all-new 4th generation really changes that. Jeep has brought this vehicle into the 21st century. And if you guys are an owner of the old Wrangler and you try this out, you're gonna be really shocked. It still will remind you that this is a truck. It's got, a truck steering, it's got a more jittery ride, but the entire experience with the Wrangler feels special. It's a car that kind of makes you feel like you can kind of go anywhere, you can do anything. And if there's a zombie apocalypse, this is probably the one that I would be grabbing the keys for. So with all that said, this is a very unique vehicle. It doesn't really compete with anything in the class. I mean, what other SUV allows you to take the roof, the windshield, the doors, everything basically off and just have a completely topless experience, which is exactly the reason why Jeep charges a pretty good amount of money for this vehicle. Now, the base Wrangler 2-door Sport with a 6-speed manual starts at $26,995. That represents a $3,000 increase over the previous generation. That's a lot of money, I know. This particular one is the Sport S. It's like $3,200 more, and it gives you the leather-wrapped steering wheel, upgraded audio, upgraded interior finishes and different wheels. This one starts at just under $30,000 or just over $30,000, $30,195. And that being said, Wranglers are very customizable. If you guys want to step up to the Sahara, that only comes in the 4-door, which by the way, the 4-door will cost you about $3,000 more if you want the unlimited for the extra rear seat and the cargo area. My tester has a pretty extensive list of options ranging from the blind spot monitoring to the hardtop roof, to the upgraded wheels and tires, to the anti-slip rear differential, to the upgraded head unit in the center stack. It's got about $10,000 worth of options on it. As tested, mine is about $40,500, which is probably the most expensive way you can get a Sport S trim. Now keep in mind, if you guys want to step up to the Rubicon model, which is the off-road oriented model, I'll show you guys a review on that later. That one starts at around $37,000, 40 grand for the 4-door, and you can option up a Wrangler to be over $55,000 if you aren't careful. So it's a lot of money, I know, although I will argue that the new Wrangler is a very special vehicle. You can take it off-road. It now has the level of refinement that you kind of expect in today's modern era of trucks. And if you're looking for a vehicle that can basically do it all off-road, you can take it camping, you can take it off-roading, you can also drive it to and from work. This is really the one that should be at the top of your list. If you guys are also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.